case involves a gentleman by the name of Kris Fowler, or he was better known on the trail as Sherpa. He went missing on October 12th, 2016. He was a male and was 34 years old. I don't have a lot of other information on his physical appearance. You can go find pictures of him online, and all the pictures I saw, he looks like a pretty healthy, fit guy. So no medical conditions that are, visible in his pictures. So it starts October 12th, 2016. He was dropped off near the trailhead at White Pass, where he grabbed a coffee before heading towards the Canadian border to complete the last 366 miles of his hike. This was the last time he was seen alive. So he had already hiked a good chunk of the PCT, and he was really, on the home stretch. So close.
Yeah. So
October 12th, 2016, now it's 5 p.m. This was the last time his cell phone was reported to have pinged a tower. So we always talk about this when people go hiking. Even though you may not get cell phone reception out on your hikes or in the parks you're at, bring your phone with. Besides the fact that the phones these days take amazing pictures, if you do go missing, there is a decent chance that there might be just enough signal that your phone will ping a tower, which gives searchers so much information on where you could possibly be. At this time, it's 5 o'clock. There were reports of considerable amounts of snow and freezing rain that fell over the next few days, so that's not great. Authorities and volunteers, he must have been reported missing pretty soon from this time, because authorities and volunteers started searching much of the trail between White Pass and the Canadian border. Nothing was found, none of his gear or anything. So it says, while official search and rescue teams under the Yakima Sheriff's Department did initial search along the PCT from White Pass, they also did flyovers and road searches. After the initial search, they primarily focused on the area surrounding Blowout Mountain, the location of an unconfirmed sighting by 2 bear hunters on October 22nd. So you can kind of see the time frame here. So he last pinged the tower on October 12th at 5 p.m., and there potentially was an unconfirmed sighting on October 22nd. And during that time frame, there also was a search and rescue operation going on. So Blowout Mountain is east of PCT map marker 2354. It's 62 miles north of White Pass. This was where he was dropped off. So fast forward now 3 years. It's 2019, and Yakima County, I hope I'm saying that right for anybody that lives around there. Yakima County search and rescue volunteers again conducted multiple searches of this area, led by Sergeant Randy Briscoe. Fowler said another 15 to 20 volunteers from what she calls her team behind the scenes were coordinating an effort dedicated to combing through areas they knew well, but again, nothing was found. So this is not uncommon in missing persons cases in the wilderness. There will be a massive initial search, and then sometimes a couple months later to a couple years later, there'll be follow-up searches, either as training exercises or they're going back out there to try to see if there's any details they may have missed. So not uncommon. Of note, when Kris went missing, there was some severe storms in the area. So again, this, a lot of these cases have, they're intertwined with really bad weather going on, which I guess, does make sense. Mm-hmm. They're saying that if he did get caught out in this storm, he may have been cold and tried to, seek refuge in town. There were a lot of people that claimed to have seen Kris mid-October, but a lot of the people that were on the search and rescue called these bogus sightings. So there's not a lot of information that I found on my initial research of this. It is a really interesting case, and at some point I'd like to touch it again. So just to recap, he went hiking. He was real close to the end, and there was some really bad weather when he set back out. So I'll just go into my theory right now. I think he had an accident out on the trail during the storm, and something happened. He either got, hypothermia, or he went off trail and fell. After I hear your theory, there is a person who lives in that area and gave a quote about what it's like.
Okay.
So I think it was an accident on the trail or exposure again.
So you said the bad storms were like ice and rain storms, so it was cold enough that you're getting like that sleet, freezing rain.
The report was considerable amounts of snow and freezing rain fell the next few days after his cell phone was pinged.
So the freezing rain is the red flag for me, because snow is a little bit different because you're not getting soaking wet.
Yep.
If he's starting the hike into the night in freezing rain, he's going to get wet immediately. You're going to drop your body temperature. My guess is maybe not an accident, but if he at night, again, it's notoriously hard to hike at night.
Yeah.
Potentially went off trail and started getting hypothermic. I think I'm with you on the exposure. I think the freezing rain, the nighttime hike is just kind of the domino effect, just one bad thing after another, and they all fall down. My guess is off trail somewhere in that pass because of the rain and succumb to hypothermia.
Yeah, and that goes in line with what the authorities were saying. They said he really would have had two options. Like I said earlier, he would have tried to maybe seek refuge in one of the nearby towns. The fact that he didn't do that, some of the authorities believe that he went off trail somewhere between White Pass and Chinook Pass. So
maybe he set out assuming, okay, maybe I can just get through this one section and get to the next town, and then I'll dry off and stuff. And at some point between that, it was just a bad decision of. And if you get that, they talk about this on Everest too. Like, you're that close to the finish line, you're gonna start making bad decisions to try and get there faster.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was one of those, like, he could have just stayed where he was because it's bad to hike at night, but it's like it feels like it's so close. You know what? I'll do this short leg, get over the next town, and get a closer start the next morning type of deal, and it just didn't go his way.
Yeah, I agree. And here's a quote from somebody who lives in the area, and their quote kind of backs up what we're saying. So the quote goes, and it's a little long one here, so bear with me. So I've hiked most of the PCT in Washington, including the stretch between White Pass and Chinook Pass. It's not terribly difficult terrain, but it is in the trees over rolling hills and has some big climbs and cliffs closer to Chinook Pass. He probably only had an hour of daylight to hike, so I'm guessing his plan was to get on the trail, cover a few miles, camp, and make the call on his plan based on conditions. He was likely trying to do a big push day 2 to get up and over the climb to Chinook Pass, which is around 5,000 feet, very exposed at the top, and get past the Crystal Mountain section near 6,000 feet, after which the trail gets progressively easier to hike and stays around 4,000 feet of elevation, and bailing out would be easy as a 5-mile walk on any old logging road to find hunters to hitch a ride with. Most likely, he was hiking after dark with a headlamp on, lost the trail in the trees as snow filled up the trailhead, got disorientated, got hypothermic trying to set up camp, maybe fell or slid down a ravine or got wet in a boggy section, and died of exposure. So you can see from somebody who lives there that if you were trying to do this at night during a bad storm, the chances are not on your side, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of things going against you.
Yep. So sadly, I think our second case, Kris Fowler, in my opinion, it was exposure or an accident on the trail caused by the storm.
Yep, I agree.